So we've learned that that there is a way to solve for a parabola, and that's to graph it and to find where it touches the x-axis. And that can either be 2 points, 1 point, or 0 points. So on page 179, this is section 3.4, solving quadratic equations by factoring, algebra 2. I'm gonna give you two roots, and this is what you have to do in your assignment first, is I'm gonna give you two roots, and you're going to find what equation the parabola is. So here's the thing. I tell you that one of the roots is a negative 1/3, and the other root is 6, okay? So this parabola touches the x-axis in two places, correct? All right, so if you want to find the parabola, the equation of the parabola that does this, what I would do is I would write it as factors of x, and this is what I would do. I would say x minus a negative 1/3 times x minus 6, because if you were to solve these, this is what you would get, wouldn't you? You remember doing the factoring the equation and then solving it? This is what you would get. So anytime it is always x minus, it's, if you want me to write it down, it's x minus, I think the book uses p and q, or is it r? It's q. It's x minus p times x minus q equals 0. Okay, this formula where p and q are the roots of the parabola. Do you understand that? So anytime I give you roots, you just write them as x minus, and it's always subtract. Did you notice that? Okay, so this is subtractive positive, so this is actually x plus 1/3, and this is x plus a negative 6, correct? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to FOIL, okay? But can I show you a little trick? I would multiply these two by 3. Why?
So there's no fraction.
There's no fraction. So I can get 3x plus 1 and x plus a negative 6 equals 0. Now it's much easier to multiply and FOIL, right? So I have 3x squared plus a negative 18x plus 1x plus a negative 6 equals 0. So 3x squared plus a negative 18x, nope, plus negative 17x, isn't it?
Yep.
Plus a negative 6 equals 0. This parabola, that is a negative 17x. I don't know, it kind of looks like a 7. This parabola, if I was to graph it, it would touch the x-axis at a negative 1/3 and 6. So the first three problems on your assignment, they're going to give you two roots, and you're going to solve for it. Okay? All right. Any questions about that? All right. So I'm going to erase that. We are going to now reverse this. We'll reverse this using the zero product property. And the zero product property, it's on page 180. It is the reverse of this. It's called the zero product property. It says if you have two numbers, a times b, and they equal 0, then a equals 0 or b equals 0. Now, you don't make this harder than it is. If you have two numbers that multiply together and they equal 0, one of the numbers has to be 0, guys. You understand that? So if I solve an equation, and I have, did I number that first one as 1, so this would be 2. This is 2. And I have 16x squared plus 8x equals 0. Okay? I'm going to factor this. Now they both have an 8x. They have greatest common factor is 8x. So I'm going to pull an 8x out. Does everybody see that?
Yeah.
Okay? And then that leaves what?
2x.
2x plus 1 equals 0. So basically, this is A and this is B. I have one number times another number equals 0. Do you understand that? So either 8x has to equal 0 or 2x plus 1 has to equal 0.
2x plus 1. No.
Did I say that right? Probably not. Okay. So if I divide by 8 here, I get x equals 0. And if I move the 1 over, it becomes negative. And if I divide by 2, guess what? X equals a negative 1/2. Correct? So, folks, my answer is that this parabola, if it was a parabola, would touch at the 0 and a negative 1/2. Those are the solutions or roots. Do you get that? Yes, go ahead.
I'm confused where you get 2x plus 1.
Okay, when I factored an 8x out, Harper, I have to divide both these by 8x. So 16 divided by 8 is 2, and x squared divided by x is x.
Alright,
And then 8x divided by 8x is 1.
okay,
Make sense?
yep.
So
Okay.
that second x that equals negative 1/2, would that be just like y?
No.
No?
This parabola, if you wanted to look at it, if it was a parabola, it would touch here and it would touch here. So it'd just be something like that. Well, I could have made it bigger for criminy sakes. But yeah, see, it just touches right together, doesn't it? Okay. Now, that is where there's 2 terms, you know. Well, what if there's 3 terms? Sometimes in 3 terms you got to factor a little bit differently. Okay. Let's take x squared plus 16x plus 64 equals 0. Whenever you have 3 terms, you should look to factoring using reverse FOIL. That makes sense? So I would do this. Do you remember this?
Yes.
And the factors of x squared are x, and then I want factors of 64 are here and here. I would use 8 and 8, right? And they're both plus sign because these are both plus. So if I set both of these equal to 0, are they going to get the same answer?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what is that answer? You move the 8 over.
Negative 8.
Negative 8. So tell me about that parabola. It touches in one spot. It's called a double root. So that your vertex is at a negative 8 on the x-axis, something like that.
Or could it be going like facing the left or right?
We don't have any like that, Bo, but there are some like that. Yep.
How did you know it's 8? Or did that just
Um,
guess?
8 times 8 is 64, and if you add 8 and 8, you get 16. Remember, the middle term is the addition of the 2, and then the product of the 2 is the last one. Remember doing that? Reverse FOIL? Okay, here's kind of the ones that really get kids. They get something like this, okay? And this one, there's 2 ways to do it. You can put the 64 on the side here, so you have this. And you remember what this is called? This is called a what? No, it's called a different, it's zero product property, but it's called a difference of squares, where there's only 2 of them, because both these have perfect square root. What's the square root of x squared?
X.
X, so x goes there. What's the square root of 64?
8.
8 and 8, right?
8.
But how do you get just one term and no middle term?
1 plus 1 subtraction.
There you go, Bo. That rhymed. So my 2 answers are what? 8 from this one and a negative 8.
Why can't you just take the square root, or like divide 64 by their
You can. That was the second method.
But you have to
I can take the square root of both sides. The problem with that is, and you're going to see it in the next problem, is you got to do a plus or minus. Remember that, Addie?
Yep.
That thing you about thumped me on, and I probably deserved it, okay? You got to do a plus or minus. So students sometimes forget that it's a plus and a minus. Okay? Which leads me to the next problem. Can I do it here? Can you see that?
Mr. Olson, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Why is the one that's addition negative?
Why is one addition and one...
No, why is the answer negative on the
Move it to
addition
the
one?
other side.
Because because when you solve, you go x plus 8 equals 0, and you move it to the other side, it becomes x equals a negative 8. Think of it this way, Bo. What plus 8 equals 0? Because I got to get 0 here.
Oh.
Negative 8 plus 8, right? There's another way to think about it, okay? We good? CJ?
Yeah.
Okay, here's the one that causes some problems. X squared equals a negative 225, okay? Now, I can move it over and do this, but we don't have anything that we factor that. We can't factor this because it's not plus. So my suggestion is not to move it over, okay?
Why can't you factor it? Or,
You can, but it's easier to do it this way, I think, Uton. You might disagree with me. I think this one is when you take the square root of both sides and you do plus or minus the square root of negative 225. And you know why? What happens? Since I got a negative underneath, what happens?
the odd factor.
I get I poke an eye out.
So plus or minus 15i.
Is it 15i? You bet. It's 15i. So, Uton, we've never ever factored one that was plus. That's why I said that it might be easier to do it like this.
Okay.
Okay? Do you have a question, Dawson?
No.
Okay. All right, so can I race? We're getting quite a bit here. How you doing, Harp?
Good.
Been a long day, hasn't it?
Mhm.
All right. What number am I on?
6.
6, okay, 6. Can I move it over here? 6, there we go. So what if I have, would you do this one? X squared plus 9x plus 20 equals 0. Would you solve this one? Reverse FOIL, what do I got?
X plus 5, X plus 4.
Exactly. My two answers are?
4 and 5.
Negative 5 and negative 4.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Bo?
Yeah.
Wait,
Okay.
why?
Well, because they're plus, and so we have to set them equal to 0, and we gotta move them to the other side.
Oh.
And think of it this way, negative 5 plus 5 is 0, negative 4 plus 4 is 0, okay?
Does
But I
it
think it-
matter which way they are though?
No.
Okay.
I think it's better to do this, and I'll show you why in just a minute. But this, I think, and then you move the 5 over, it becomes negative. You move the 4 over, it becomes negative. Right, Dawson? Okay, but here's why. Take a look at this one. 6y squared minus 23y plus 20 equals 0. Okay, this one is a toughie. You gotta kind of guess at what, say, what do you want to use for 6y? 3y and 2y, all right? What do you want to use for 20?
5 and 4.
Let's use 5 and 4, that's what she said, and we're gonna go, oh, that probably didn't come out right. And I got it on videotape, so there we go. They're both negative, why?
Because it multiplies
Because-
into
Because the
a
first
positive.
one is negative.
This one.
Yeah, the first one's negative and the second one's positive, right? Let's check it, negative 10y and a negative 12y. That's not gonna work. What if we switch the 5 and the 4 around? Will that make a difference?
Yes.
It sure will. Let's put 4 here and 5 here. Negative 8 and a negative 15, that is a negative 23.
Can you,
Well, Yep, go ahead.
why is your second one, why do you have a negative or a subtraction sign there?
They're both subtraction because this one is negative and this one is positive. When you multiply them
Oh,
together,
okay, so
it has to be positive, right?
So if it's the other way around, like plus and then negative.
Yes,
then
then
it'd
one-
be. I
One,
remember that.
one is negative and one is
I
positive.
remember that.
Okay, so Bo, now it would be easier if we set both of these equal to 0, right?
Yeah.
And then we get 4, and then divide by 3, we get y equals 4/3, and 2y equals 5, and y equals 5/2. So we have two that touch at fractions.
Oh.
Okay? All right. You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna work on this. Let's take a look at the exercises. I do wanna do a couple problems from the assignment, because one is a story problem, and we've not had good luck with it over the course. 17, 18, and 19 was what we did at the beginning, where you do, like 17, x minus 7 times x minus 7. Oh, wait a minute, there's only one number. How did I get x minus 7 times x minus 7? Equals 0. Number 17, writing the quadratic equation in standard form with the given roots. Number 17, it just says 7. What's that? It's
That means that's the only spot it touches.
That's the only spot it touches. So this is a double root. X minus 7 times x minus 7 equals 0.
That's one of them, or is it?
That's number 17. You FOIL that bad boy, right? 20 through 34 is just a review of factoring. But I do want to take a look at 33. Because this is that one, 9x squared plus 25. Okay? Now if it was 9x squared minus 25, it'd be a difference of squares, wouldn't it?
Mhm.
So, and this is still a difference of squares, but do you remember from that one, I erased it, what should this be?
3.
3x and
2.
3x, because it's 9. But now you're plussing. You still have a minus and a plus, but it is 5i and 5i. Because this is a plus sign. If this was a minus, it's 3x minus 5 and 3x plus 5. Remember that example I did over here
Yeah.
for,
This is 225.
yeah, it was 225. It's the same type of problem.
Why is there an I though?
Well, because this would be 9x squared plus 25 equals 0. And it would be 9x squared equals a negative 25. So when I take the square root of that, when I take the square root of that, it would be 5i and a negative 5i. Does that make sense, Bo? Okay. All right, then 35 through 43, you're going to actually solve. So on the first ones, you're going to factor, but it's 44 that causes the problem. It's the story problem. So let's do that together, shall we?
Yes.
So the hypotenuse of a right triangle is 1 centimeter longer than one side and 4 centimeters longer than 3 times the other side. Find the dimensions of the triangle, okay? A lot there, isn't there? But let's start out, it's a right triangle, isn't it? Okay. All right, so there's a couple different ways that you can do it. It says the hypotenuse of a right triangle is 1 centimeter longer than one side. Okay, let's let one side be just x. All right, so let's call this side x.
So then the hypotenuse is 1 plus x.
Is well, no, it's 3 times.
No, it's 1.
Oh wait a minute, it is 1 centimeter longer. The hypotenuse is 1 centimeter longer than one side. Okay, so but then it says,
But you don't know if it's after side for sure.
yeah, exactly.
So it has to be-
But then it says that, and 4 centimeters longer than 3 times the other side, right?
Yeah.
What if I let the hypotenuse be x?
Yeah.
Okay? So the hypotenuse is 1 centimeter longer than one side. So what's this side?
X.
Minus 1. If the hypotenuse is one side bigger, right?
Well, it could be the other side though, right?
Yeah, I could, yeah, it doesn't matter. Okay? And then it says, and 4 centimeters longer and 3 times the other side. So 4 times longer. So I would have to divide by what? And no,
4
it says
centimeters longer.
it's 4 centimeters longer. So if we subtract 4, and then we're going to divide by 3, why?
It's 3 times.
Because this is 3 times bigger than this. So to get it, we have to divide by it. You understand that? Now it says find the dimensions of the triangle. So what do we have to do?
X minus 4 divided by 3 squared plus x minus 1 quantity squared equals x squared, right?
Yes.
Yes.
The Pythagorean theory.
You should have.
What?
Someone gotta get it.
Okay, now I want to show you this right here. This is x minus 4. I'm going to multiply this by, this is, I'm going to rewrite it like this. Right? Is what? Can I multiply this by 3?
Yeah.
But then where will the 3 go? Let's square it, just to make sure. I'm gonna FOIL it. It's gonna get nasty.
You're in foot.
If I multiply this times this, I get x squared over 9, right? Then if I multiply these two together, I get a plus a negative 4x over 9, right? These two. And then the outer two is a negative 4x over 9, right? And then the last is 16 ninths, correct?
The middle ones cancel.
Nope, they don't. Unfortunately, they're the same sign, Harp. I'm gonna run out of room.
Ah.
I FOIL this. Can anybody FOIL this in their head? But I think it's x squared minus 2x plus 1, right? Equals x squared.
That's what I was gonna say.
Okay, and that's what you got? Alright, now I'm gonna multiply everything by 9. Why?
Because
Because it's
they're all
separate.
common denominator.
Alright, so I get x squared. That was fun to listen to all that. Plus a negative, oh, this would be a negative 8x, wouldn't it? If I put those two together. Negative 8x plus 16 plus 9x squared minus 18x plus 9 equals 9x squared. Can these 9x squareds cancel since they're on opposite sides?
Yes.
So now I have x squared and I have a negative 8x and a negative 18x is what? It's what?
Negative 26x.
Negative 26x. And 16 and 9 is 25, right? Equals 0, right? How do you factor that?
Next, set up your two parentheses.
What's that?
Set up your two parentheses.
So it'd be x minus 25 and x minus 1, right? Equals 0. So my answers, my possible answers for x are 25. Oh, one's got to be positive, one's, oh, they're both negative. Okay, so x is your hypotenuse. Can it be 1? Why can't it be 1? Because your hypotenuse would be smaller than these. So we throw it out. So this is 25, this is 25, this is 24, and this is 25 minus 4 is what? 21 divided by 3, this is 7. So you have 7, 25, and 24.
Is everyone like that on the quiz?
No.
Oh,
Good.
No, the quiz does not include this section.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
So your assignment's page 184, numbers 17 through 52.
Even?
Due tomorrow?
You know what? I tell you what.
17.
I'll tell you what I'll do. Since you got a quiz tomorrow, I'll make it 82 through 52 even.
82 through 52?
18 is what I said. I did not. I said 82. I know. I heard me.
This is due tomorrow?
No, it's due Monday. Monday.
Can I do it Sunday night at 12?
Of course. You'll be way ahead of Harper.
First period study hall,
I
Monday.
think that's the
Oh, that is
fastest
fast.
you've ever taught a lesson in your life, Mr. Ellis.